Huh? I would. I could wear those for the gym. I could wear those for work. See, that's the kind of clothes that you should make for culture study. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Guys, can I get your attention? We're going to get started with our mastermind meeting. How was everyone's weekend? Too much candy? Yes? No, no candy? We have a lot of candy here. Yeah, we have a ton. I swear, when I was a kid, I could not turn down candy. I would left and right. I would eat any piece of candy I could find. Now I look at it, I'm like, I gotta stay away from that. I gotta stay away from that. I gotta be disciplined. If not, because one piece of candy, it's like opens the gate to everything. Yeah, you eat one, like, oh, man, that was good. Let me try some more. So once you crack that, it's over. All right, so today we're going to talk about something really, really, really good that you guys are always being asked, and you look like a deer in the headlights when you get asked this, I'm sure. I know when I used to get asked this all the time as a new agent, either I knew what I was told or I didn't know at all. So for instance, the first listing appointment I ever went to, I didn't know anything. All I knew was my broker said I had to charge 6%. So I didn't know that people would lower their commission of 5 or 4. I didn't even know that was possible. I just thought that everyone charged 6. So when the person asked me how much do you charge for commission, I said 6%. But I didn't even blink an eye because I just thought that that's what everyone charges. So I got 6%. But then when I started to get corrupted by other people and hearing that they charged 5 and they charged 4, and then I was like, well, people have options? And then I knew this, so it kind of worked counterproductively in my head. And I said to people when they would ask me, like, well, I'm not really sure now because, people charge different amounts. And what if someone else charges you less and you go with them? I started to doubt myself. So today we're going to talk about ways in which you can use all the information available to you to get someone to give you a fair commission. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get 6% from everyone. You're not going to get 4% from everyone. You're going to find that you're going to have to sometimes give, and sometimes you'll be able to take a little more. So today we're going to talk about ways of handling those, I want to call them objections, but those questions, and also how to get more commission, and also how to get paid for your time appropriately. So we're going to talk about that. So let's just go over our schedule today, our agenda. We're going to talk about how much is your commission. We're going to talk about trends in real estate. We're going to have a roundtable discussion around it, and then we'll close out with our announcements. Okay, so who's ever had a hard time with that question? How much is your commission? Right? I have. Everybody pretty much has. Jolie, have you ever been asked how much is your commission? Yeah. What would you have said in those cases? You probably revert to me like, I don't know, Louis, what is our commission? Right? So when somebody asks you what your commission, what they're asking you is, what are you worth, and what exchange of value are you going to give me for me entrusting you with my biggest asset? Because let's be serious. Most people, 99% of the people that own their home, it's their only home. It's their biggest asset. It's the most equity they have. They've already got that amount money accounted for 50 times over. And you coming into the picture, you're taking away from that money that they have already envisioned in their head. And the worst part is, they're probably about 50 grand over on what they think the value of that property is. So it's your job to prove your value. It's your job to bring them down to earth, to make them understand that their home is probably not worth the money they think it's worth. Sorry guys, I forgot to turn off the volume. We're probably going to get taken off of Facebook.
No, I don't have that audio.
Oh, it's not going? Okay, let me just turn it off. Yeah, I don't want to get taken off. All right, because Facebook is a funny way of having music in the background. They'll still take you off. All right. So people are going to have a predetermined value for your services. They're going to have a predetermined value for their home. Everything is already kind of in their head. If you're catching someone who has never thought about selling their home and you put a good idea in their head, you've got a chance of getting in there before those thoughts creep in. But if someone who's been thinking about selling their home for about a year, you're going to have problems because they've already have this conversation with their wife or with their husband at the dinner table. They've already got their spreadsheet broken down, and they know what they need, they know what they want, and they know what they want to pay a real estate agent. So when you come into the picture, it's not like they're not educated about what real estate agents charge. They all know it's a range, but it's your job to explain to them why is it that you would be paying X amount for your services. Now, every home is going to be different. Some homes are going to be really difficult to sell, and you should never undervalue your services. Some properties are going to be easy to sell. I'm pretty sure the homeowner could probably put a for sale sign on the lawn, if it's priced right, and sell it themselves. No question asked. But you have to come in there and show them how working with you will add more value than what you charge. So the National Association of Realtors states that people sell their home for about 11 to 14% less without a real estate agent than you do with a real estate agent. Those are statistics that I don't make up. Those are statistics that actually exist. Now, if you charge 10% for commission, they'd still be ahead of the game. They'd still be making more money than they would without a real estate agent on average. There's going to be circumstances where obviously you may not add as much value as you would in other cases, but you have to explain to them why giving you anywhere between 5-6% may be the best investment they can make in selling their home. Now, one of the biggest things that you're going to bring to the table is going to be information, right? Information is what they need. Now, going into battle or going into anything without having the proper information is a recipe for disaster. Same thing goes with selling your home. When you show up to a listing presentation, a lot of times what agents do is they go in there and they try to sell themselves from the minute they start. And for a lot of homeowners, that's going to be a big turnoff, because remember, just like when you're trying to lure buyers in, you don't plaster your face all over everything and say, guys, buy a home with my face. No, you have to market homes, because that's what people want. They want homes. So when they bring you into their house for a listing presentation, instead of trying to market yourself, talk about the data, talk about the numbers, and talk about what they would walk away with before you even break into, this is why you should work with me. When you're trying to sell yourself, embedding yourself should be the way you approach things, instead of trying to do it this way, because the human brain is programmed for this. Give you all the good stuff, give you all the information you need, and at the end, try to close you. And at the end, try to give you all the information. But at the end, what happens, the human brain starts to shut down, because they're getting ready for the sale. They're getting ready for you to say, okay, well, this is what's great about me, sign here. But if you embed yourself and your services throughout the whole presentation, then it's kind of like a subconscious sale to them. So as you're giving information such as, I just want to let you know that your neighbor sold their house for $340,000. As a matter of fact, one of my clients actually saw that house with me, and if you did, obviously this is a conversation you need to have with yourself before you even go. It's like, what points can I add? When my client and I saw this house, we thought that home was extremely well priced, and I would only work with buyers and sellers who are understanding that, you know, the market is what the market is. We sell homes in 30 days when we market them correctly. But now let's look over the rest of the comparables. So what you just did is you just embedded how you work without basically selling them at the end. So what you're doing is you're adding value and you're embedding your services. You're adding value and you're telling about yourself. You're adding value and you're saying, look, in my first year in real estate, I sold, you know, X amount of homes, but now this is my 5th year or 3rd year in real estate, and I'm the top producer. Well, would you say that at the end, or can you say that in a way where it's part of your presentation? So, such as this. This is one of the homes that I actually saw the year that I made Circle of Excellence, and this home went for like $500,000. And then move on, because what you just did is you just dropped a nugget about yourself, but you didn't kind of like hit them over the head with a bragging session about yourself. So what I'm saying is that when you're going to answer a question about a real estate commission, you have to kind of lay the tracks already. So what I mean by that is you have to kind of give them an understanding that you're a professional, that you've accomplished things, that you know the market, that you know the data, and then you can talk to them about pricing strategies and what you charge for commission, because then it sounds like it's coming from someone who has some type of value. If you give no value and then they catch you with how much is your commission before you even got a chance to explain how much experience you have or how much information or value you can add, then what's going to happen is it's not going to sound like it's very convincing. So if someone walked into my home, I showed them around the entire home, showed them my kitchen, my bathroom, my living room, my yard. I told them all about the home, what I did, all the repairs I made. And then we get to the kitchen table and I say, well, now that you've seen my home, how much would you list it for and how much is your commission? You haven't even gotten an opportunity to even express what you do or what you say. So while you're being shown a home, drop a few nuggets about data, drop a few nuggets about yourself. That way, when it does come down to it, you don't let them beat you to the punch. You can explain to them how much you charge and why you charge that and why it's a good strategy to market it at X amount of dollars. So let's go ahead and get started with the first thing we should all do. when you're being asked an uncomfortable question, which being asked how much is your real estate commission is probably the most uncomfortable question in real estate, first thing you need to do is cushion it. Why? Because, Tom, why do we cushion questions?
To soften the whole thing and to make them feel like you're on their side.
Exactly, yeah.
My whole thing is I can appreciate your concern about it.
Yeah.
That's the one I use all the time. I can appreciate your concern about the commission.
Yeah. So what Tom is saying is 100% true. That's one of the reasons why, because when they think they're about to make you uncomfortable with that question, because to them it's probably uncomfortable to ask it. So when they're asking you that question, they in their mind are expecting you to also be uncomfortable. But when you soften it, you cushion it, what it makes them feel like, oh, wow, that wasn't such a bad question then. It's a true professional who's about to speak. That's number one, definitely. The second thing about it is that you're giving yourself enough time to say what you want to say. Sometimes people just say, the first thing that comes to their head, 4%. Right? But what you just did was react instead of kind of set the track for what you want to say. So if someone said, how much is your commission? You can say something like I taught Alex this week. When he didn't know what to say when people asked him certain questions, I said, Alex, when someone asks you an uncomfortable question, you say, I'm so glad you asked that question. Many of my clients have asked the same thing in the past. And the way we've handled it, or whatever you may want to say, but also you want to cushion it. So the reason why to use the word cushion is for a reason. If someone is about to get hit, if you had a pillow and you put it in your face, it wouldn't hurt as bad. So it's the same thing when an uncomfortable question. Think of it as like someone trying to hit you, like Mike Tyson trying to hit you for a knockout, but then you cushion it, you have a much better chance of surviving it and lasting for the next round. So that's what we're trying to do when someone hits us with that uncomfortable question. How much is your commission? It doesn't have to be one. You guys can practice different ones. This is why Alejandro does role play on Fridays, because he likes to train and see what different techniques and different things he can say. But Tom has a whole slew of them. His book, I'm sure, is full of cushions. Yes, Tom.
The one in the book about and you're working your way through it is the 5-step approach to handling an objection. What people think most about the commission, they start out by thinking we got to get $400,000 for this house. Well, if somebody wants, that's $24,000. I'm going to pay somebody $24,000 to sell this house. That's crazy.
Yep.
You know, and my feeling about the whole thing is the better presentation you do with showing them the marketing plan, the better chance you got of not getting the commission question.
Of course. Tom, can you give us one example of a cushion?
Of a cushion?
Yeah, so how much is your commission, Tom?
Huh?
How much is your commission? One cushion, just the cushion, not the whole dialogue.
I can appreciate your concern about the commission.
Okay, that's a great one. You guys should be taking notes on these are great. Alex, what would you say? How much is your commission? And what would be a good cushion to soften it up? No, I'm sorry, this is Alex right here. Alejandro. Sorry, bro.
I'm so glad you asked that question. Some other clients in the past has asked me the same question.
Yeah, those are good ones.
That's good.
Yeah, try out.
Felt found is a good one to use.
Exactly. And then once you really become bold at answering these questions, you could say something as far as like, I thought you'd never ask, and then smile, and then they'll probably smile, and you break the tension, and then go for it. That's really what it comes down to, is your confidence, because the confident people tend to make other people feel comfortable. Uncomfortable people make other people feel uncomfortable. So you have to be very confident, lighthearted.
It's all canned.
Yeah. When Tom laughs and says no about the commission, like,
Will you cut your commission?
yeah, he's laughing, and they're like, all right, I guess we're gonna laugh it off. Alejandro.
I've been trying a technique that I saw it on YouTube. It's like, people like options.
Yeah.
So people like options on the commission as well. Just people like option on the offer as well. So I'll be trying like, we have a different option for you.
Yeah.
Like I can do, platinum, gold, and silver.
People love options.
Yeah, so I just put it like that, and 6%, 95 different websites, open houses every Sunday, and all this stuff.
Part of your marketing plan.
Yeah, exactly. And then 5% is less websites, less open houses, and this, and 4%, of course.
It's like the car wash.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I put it like,
what do you want?
so I've been trying that like a couple of times, and I noticed that people like options.
They do.
What do you think?
People love options, and we're going to get to that. That's one of our techniques today. People love options, and what I love what you did is you actually branded each option to a metal, which is precious, and the highest option is platinum probably, and people are like, wow, I like platinum, maybe I want to be platinum, just because in their head, psychologically, they know that platinum is worth more because it's more rare, it's more valuable. So it's a good way of you attaching what they already know to what they should be taking advantage of from your services. So that was really good. I like that. We'll get to that in a minute. So cushioning, guys, that's step number one. Cushioning your objection. Cushioning the question. I apologize. Next thing is, that all depends. So for instance, if someone said to you, what is your commission? And you're on the phone, you haven't even seen the home, how can you possibly give someone a commission? I said, well, that all depends. It depends on what?
I have to see your house.
Depends on a million different things. Well, I only want to pay 4%. Well, maybe that's good. Or maybe that's too much. And people are, too much, really? Yeah, you know, if you're going to give your home away, I'll do it for 1%. I don't care. If you're going to, but the thing is, if you want more for your home, I'm going to have to work harder. So working harder means that you're going to have to also compensate for more marketing, for more time, for more everything. So going into the house is the objection is the only option you should have when you're on the phone. So never turn down anyone for any kind of commission that they want to pay, because that all depends. Once you get in front of them, then you can show them, you know, what ways is more beneficial to them. So when someone asks you, what is your commission, and you haven't even seen the home, you know, you got to let them know that all depends on you, depends on your timeline, depends on your home, depends on the market. It depends on so many things. Any real estate agent, they can tell you how much they'll sell your home for, without doing the proper diagnosis on your home, without really knowing the market conditions, without spending the time with your needs, is not someone you want to work with, put it that way. You know, and if you expect me to give you something like that over the phone, that's not how we work. You know, I want to be honest with you. I want to be 100% transparent. When I tell you how much I can do it for, you can rest assured that I'm not going to drop the ball, because I've done my homework on what it's going to take to sell your home. Tom, you have your hand up?
That all depends on how much money you want to put in your pocket at the closing.
Yeah, look, people love that. I mean, like, what do you mean, Tom?
That's all they care about.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's all they care.
The
If you can show me that you can put me more money in my pocket at the closing at 6 and somebody else can at 5 or 4, that's the ball game right there.
It is. It is. And that's a little bit more of an advanced dialogue that you guys will get into with Tom about how you can put more money in their pocket by doing 6% versus 4. But today we're just gonna learn how to handle these questions. The basics. How to get your foot in the door, how to get the conversation flowing, and how to basically not look like you're scared when a question gets asked. When a question gets asked, you should be extra confident. Okay, like when it's like 30 seconds left in the game and you're down by 2 and you got to score a 3-pointer to win, you can't, at that moment, you can't look like you're scared. You can't look like, you know, there's even a remote chance of you losing. What you need to do is kick it up a notch. And that when you get asked that question, think about that metaphor where, look, right now is the time I have to shine. So I have to be more confident. I have to be more assertive, and I have to educate them so they understand that I'm not just telling them this. I know my stuff. So that's what you got to, that's the kind of thought process has to go through your head when those questions get asked you. Next thing is what do you think is fair? So what if you reverse the role and answer the question with another question? That way you can get into their psychology. Think about it. If someone said to you, how much is your commission? Or how much do you charge to sell my home?
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. What do you think is fair? Because a lot of times they may be thinking, well, I'm only going to pay 5%. And you're thinking in your head, damn, I would have gave it away for 4. You understand? So you really don't know what they're thinking. So sometimes if the person is willing to speak, remember we've covered this before. Listening is always better than talking. So if you are not comfortable with answering that question, ask them. Because they might be saying, well, you know what, my friend paid 4. Okay, your friend paid 4. I understand. Every home is different. Every situation is going to be totally customized. But do you think that is a fair number when you have to pay the real estate agent that sold your home 2.5%, 3%? Our listing agency would only get 1 to 1.5. We have to spend X amount of marketing. We have to spend X amount of time in open houses. We have to spend this much time when we're under contract. When you break that down and you look at that, that's a very low wage to give anyone. Do you think it's fair for us to get you more money and pay us less if we do more work than the previous agent did on your friend's house? So what you have to explain to them at that time is not always, like Tom says, paying less gives you a better outcome. But sometimes when you ask them, well, what do you think is fair? The person may not even know how real estate commission works. They may not even have a clue. They might tell you, I have no idea. And then it comes
They
down.
don't know how you get paid.
Exactly. Then it comes down to you explaining to them. There's still people who think that you get paid by the hour as real estate agents. I swear to you. There's buyers that run away and they end up working with someone else, buying with someone else. And when you call them to see why they did that, like, oh, I didn't know. I thought you were getting paid by the hour. I'm sorry. If I would have known, I was stuck with you. Like, come on. Like, you have to educate people. And if that ever happens to you, it's because you have not explained to your clients how real estate works. So if they ask you what's your commission and you use this handler as your defense and say, well, what do you think is fair? A lot of times you get to gauge the person. If the person says, well, 4, well, maybe you don't want to work with that person because they might want to pay 4 and the home might be $50,000 overpriced. You may have to turn that down. And there's no shame in that. You can turn listings down. If it doesn't work for you, what you'll do is you'll catch it on the expired end. You'll catch it on the second time around because they'll give it to another agent. It won't sell and nothing will happen. It'll come back on the block. And then when you see it the second time, you can explain to them, listen, this is exactly what I meant. I meant you need to pay a proper wage so you can get proper marketing, and you need to listen to the market so the market can tell you how much your home is worth. Tom?
What you're doing with that one, the reason I like that one so much is you're making them come up with the number.
You are.
You're making them. You're not starting out by saying we charge 6%. You're trying to make them come up with the number.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And the people who are really low on the scale and only want to pay 4, it's your decision whether you want to continue working with that person. If the person says, I have no idea how real estate commissions work, then it's your obligation to educate them on how you can give them the most benefit for your time and for the money. Exactly. All right. So yeah, that is a good one. Next, you have to think about this. A buyer's agent gets 2.5 to 3% commission. That's what a buyer's agent should be getting. So what does that mean? That means that if that's what the real estate agent on the buying end is getting, how much value do you think that I add to the equation? Okay, how much is a buyer's agent worth? 2.5, 3%? How much do you think that my responsibilities are worth? What do you think they'd say if you asked them that? What would you say, Alex, you have the least experience here out of everyone. Alex back there. If I said to you, Alex, to sell your home, we have to pay a buyer's agent 2.5 to 3%. Because why? Because the market pays 99% of real estate agents that amount. And if that's what the market does, you can't go under that because you'll be at a disadvantage. Can you agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we're agreeing on that. Now, for the work that I have to do, keep in mind, I may have to work for weeks or months prior to even getting an offer on a home, and then I have to still work with you throughout the transaction and make sure everything goes the way it should work. Now, for me working with you, how much do you think my commission should be worth based on that, knowing that my amount of time has to be invested?
But wouldn't it depend on the price of the house, how much you sell it for?
Sure, yeah. Our commission percentage is based on how much you sell it for. But if a buyer's agent gets paid 2.5 to 3%, how much do you think your agent, your listing representative, should get?
Like 5 to 7 grand.
No, don't go with a lump number.
Percentage.
Go with a percentage.
At
Do you think I should get paid less than the buyer's agent for doing more work?
Not 5 or 6%.
Total or our part?
Total.
Total. Okay, so what you're saying is that we should get paid equally to what the buyer gets paid, buyer's agent gets paid. So when you break it down to people in ways that they can understand and wrap their head around, it becomes a lot more easy for you to get your point across. So if I say to you, listen, a buyer's agent is going to work on your home for 30 to 60 days, meanwhile, I may have to work for 30 to 60 days before we even get an offer. Then I still have to work with you throughout the transaction. So logically, we should probably be getting the same. So in that case, that means we should be somewhere between 5 and 6%. Paul?
Well, also the listing agent also has to invest money into it themselves
Yeah.
out of their pocket. So
Yeah.
that's something that's got to get covered.
Absolutely. So those are things that you guys can put into a presentation. I'm going to work with Mike closely on developing a new listing presentation for you guys. It can be edited. We're going to give you some of the best rebuttals or the best pieces that you guys can use to kind of get your point across and get your commission that you need. But it's your job to also customize it with things like Paul said. Paul said, we're investing. We had a girl, Christina, used to work here, and we had a contest one Monday on a mastermind where we said, let's come up with the best listing presentation. She broke it down to like the dollar of how much she'd spend on marketing, flyers, administrative, driving, like all these things. And after you saw every expense that she had, how could you say no to that person for what they were asking, Tom?
The better job you do with the marketing plan, the better job you're gonna do with this commission question. Because you gotta show them that you're doing something. You gotta show them there's value there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if you can't do that, then hey,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to cut your commission.
Absolutely. But what I want to remind you guys of is this: is that all of these are good rebuttals and they're good icebreakers to get into the position where you want to be. But none of them will work if you don't practice them. You have to practice them, because if you pick it up here today and you're like, oh, that's a good one, but then you don't use it again until you go to a listening presentation, it's not going to come out the way you imagined it in your head. The way you think of it in your head right now is like, oh, I'm going to crush it next time. But if you don't practice, and I mean seriously practice, and really just commit one question a week. Just commit this one a week and say, look, I'm going to study this one for 30 minutes to an hour this week only. And I'm gonna go through just the commission question, and I'm gonna nail all of these. And then you move on to the next one. You move on to the next one until you perfect 5, and then you work your way back to the first question to see if you still retained it. All of this repetition is just gonna strengthen your memory, and you're gonna be really good when you go to presentations, and you're gonna be real comfortable too. Ask questions, right? Important, and I think I spelled ax wrong, right, Tom? This is Tom. Is that ax?
Ask me a question.
Ax. Questions. Is commission number one on your concerns? Is number one on your concerns list? I couldn't fit the list word in there. So if they said to me, how much is your commission? And I would say, that's a good question. Is commission number one on your concerns list?
Good question.
Right? And then they'd say, which one of them? Okay. Which is another one? How much money we walk away with?
That's the big one.
You got them at that point, right? If getting more money in your pocket is more important to you than how much I get paid, let me show you how there's a correlation between paying more and getting more. Right? You can go into that. I mean, how would you know what's their number one concern if you don't ask? Because sometimes people think that every real estate agent, when you go on a listing appointment, all they do is put you on a list and say, this person charges 5, this person charges 4.5, this person charges 3. You know, like that's how they wage people. But if you ask the question of, hey, listen, is that really how you're going to gauge agents? Are you going to pick an agent by the commission tier? Because if it is, just let me know, and I'll try to be honest with you and just tell you what I'd charge. But if your number one concern is how much money I walk away with, or having maximum exposure on my home, or making sure that we cover the New York market to make sure the New Yorkers know that we have a home for sale, what is your number one concern? And if you ask that, then your commission becomes secondary, or maybe tertiary, or maybe it won't even be a concern anymore when you're done figuring out what really is driving their concerns. So yeah, asking. And guys, remember, we covered this in length when we said guys have to be better listeners, better question askers, better just dive into the person's psychological concerns. And this is really going to help you when you're dealing with more sophisticated sellers. Anyone can get a listing in a distressed market. Anyone can get a listing in an urban setting where the person has no circle of real estate agents in their sphere of influence. But when you go to a place where people have options, they're educated, they're getting literally daily postings in their mail saying, I'll list your home, I'll list your home, I'll list your home. You have to know this stuff. And if you don't ever educate yourself with these ways of handling these questions, you will never get any of those listings. You will never get anything. It's competitive. Exactly. So if you want to play in the big leagues, yeah, I'll use Tom's example of if you want to play on a high level, you got to practice on a high level. You have to make yourself better. So these are ways.
If we were here 2 hours, I'll say it 20 times. Knowing the marketing plan and how to present the marketing plan and show them they can get more money in their pocket with less than they can with somebody else is the whole secret of this thing. That's
Yes.
it. You guys gonna, you get questions like, you guys gonna advertise my house? I want my house advertised every week. You're gonna get questions like that.
Yeah.
Well, when you can show them that we have 94 websites to advertise your house 24 hours a day and blah, 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 that sort of stuff, that's what you gotta be able to do.
Paul, can you hit me with this one? If I ask you, is commission number one on your concerns list? Let's see this is how a professional says it, all right?
Wait, you're asking me?
I'm gonna ask you right now. How much is your commission, Paul?
6%.
Okay. Well, I don't want to pay 6%, Paul. But I mean, what I'm
Because
saying
of
is
the
use that
value
line.
that
Use that
I'm
line
giving
on me. Use that line. Use this line
Oh,
on me.
is commission your number one
Yeah, so
concern?
Paul, how much is your commission?
6%.
Why is it 6%?
Is commission your number one concern?
It's one of them.
What are your other concerns?
My concerns is that, you know what, I find an adequate house to move into.
Okay.
That's going to be number one.
So let's focus on that right now.
Yeah.
and then we'll get back to the commission later. So let's get the most important stuff out of the way first.
But in order to do that, I got to make sure I make the most money.
Well, if I show you how I can make you the most money by selling your house for more, then that will help you make up for the difference in the commission.
Yeah. See, so Paul is going around that question because that question is really not as important as it sounded originally when I first asked it. Because what he did was he used the right question to get the right dialogue, the right answers. So good, Paul. So you guys have to practice these. Okay. So what if I ask someone, what is your commission? And I'm expecting any person who asks this, or any seller who asks this, is probably expecting you to come back with an immediate answer. But what if you came back with them with another thoughtful question? Okay, well,
Commission, your number one concern.
yeah, well, that's your decision, and that's what makes us different. So think about that, right? What if I asked you, how much is your commission? Well, that's your decision, and that's what makes us different. You just did two things. You cushioned, and you separated yourself, right? So you did two things in one right there.
Very good.
Where do you go from there? You can go anywhere. You can go any single place you want. But the reason why I did this is because exactly what Alejandro said is what I want to teach you guys today, and that is showing them how you can charge them more, but you could also charge them less. But by doing so, you're putting them in the market that you want them in. So we all give ranges, right, Tom? You said never give somebody an exact number for what they can sell their home for.
Right.
Always give them a range,
Always a range.
right? So if you gave someone a range between 525 to 550 or whatever you guys whatever market you may be in,
Tie the commission to that.
exactly. You could tie your commission split to the price they sell their home for. So the higher they want to list it for, the higher you set your commission. And why is that? It's because you're gonna have to work on that home longer. You're probably gonna have to reprice that home at least once. You're gonna have to do more open houses. You're gonna have to do more marketing. You have to do so many more things. But if they list it where you know in one weekend it'll be under contract, who wouldn't want to do a lower commission for that? That means you're immediately going to be selling that home, and they're going to be incentivized to listen to you and go lower. So that's another tactic that you guys can use. Alejandro touched on this before, but I don't know if he used a range of real estate commissions for that, but I think you were using a range. I think you, oh no, you did, right? But you offered different services for more commission. Yeah, the way that I did it with a client recently is I told them that we would charge less commission if you priced it more aggressively, and we would charge more if you didn't price it so aggressively. So guess what he picked?
Lesser price.
Huh?
The lesser price, probably.
He picked right in the middle, because that's what people tend to do, is they pick the middle. If you ever look at marketing online, when you buy services or you buy a system or subscription, they give you the cheapest one, which offers basically nothing, the mega deluxe one, which offers all the bells and whistles, and then they have this one in the middle that says, I don't know, gold package, best value, most popular, because they want you to pick the one in the middle, because your subconscious tells you that the responsible thing to do is not overspend, but cheap is not good. So the middle is what people usually go for. So if you want a 5%, you want a 5.5%, position it in a way where the 4% seems like, damn, I would never want to give it away for that. 6% is just crazy, it's ludicrous, but that 5.5 looks really good. And it looks very popular, and it might be, maybe labeled something really cool, like he might call it diamond or something, whatever. But that's what I want to get into next. So we're not going to get good at any of this, guys, if we don't practice. And what Alejandro has done, guys, and you guys should really take advantage of this, is set up a day where you guys can do this, or you guys can do it any day you want, but he actually set up a day on his calendar, and he's taking the time to come in early to practice with anybody who's willing to practice. Even if you guys want to practice and you can't make it, I'm sure Alejandro wouldn't mind getting you guys on a hangout, so you guys can do it virtually as well. But take advantage of that. So how does that work? So our commission, let's just say we're going between a 5 and 6% commission. That's where we want to be, between 5 and 6. How do we get there? Number one, 0 to 30 days is a 0 to 30 day sale, 500 to 515. So that's what, if you want to sell your home in 30 days or less, you have to price it between 5 to 515. That's the first range. And if you do that, we have to give 2.5% to a buyer's agent and 2.5% to a seller's agent. Total, 5%. All right. Now, if you want to go to the next tier, which is 30 to 60 day closing, 30 to 60 days on the market, 516 to 529. That's going to cost you 2.75 to the buyer's agent, 2.75 to the seller's agent. Total 5.5%. You guys follow me so far? And then if you want to sell it in 60 to 90 days from now and get potentially 529 to 539, it's going to be 3% to a buyer's agent and 3% to a seller's agent. But why do I have to pay more if I want to sell it for more? It's because you have to incentivize everyone more to want to show your house, number one, and it might be on the higher end. And not that they want to praise. Yeah, not that they want to praise, but it might be on the higher end of the spectrum. So you got to incentivize agents to want to go show it, number one. Number two, you have to incentivize me to want to work for you for 90 days and then still go through a contract period, which could fall apart and I have to do it all over again. So these are the tiers that you can work on. And this could range anywhere you want, guys. If your 30-day sale is like really, really aggressive, you can even go down a little bit lower depending on where the home is. If the home is $750,000, $1 million, and you're in Westfield and you know that that person is going to sell that home with you or without you, you can go down below 5%. It doesn't have to be 5%. You have a lot of competition out there, so we got to be realistic as well. So you guys can use this according to the market you're in. If you're in a tough market, stick to 5 to 6%. If you're in a market that sells overnight, average days on market is less than 30 days, supply is down to 3 months supply or less, then you guys may be a little more aggressive on that. But does this make sense to you guys? If you give them options, this one looks really good. And then guess what? That's where the guy ended up listing the home. He ended up listing right in the middle. And I didn't even have to put most popular next to it because it's human psychology. Sometimes people accentuate it a little bit more by saying most popular or best value or whatever the case may be. But human nature is always going to want to go somewhere in the middle. Nobody likes to be an extremist. Nobody likes to be also too cheap. So they will always try to, well, not always, but most of the time they will be somewhere in the middle. So this is a good technique if you guys are going on a listing appointment that you feel may be a little bit more difficult to get. You want to be prepared. You want to do your homework. You want to do the absorption reports. You want to see how long homes are on the market. You want to do all the data before you get there. That way, when you're educating them through the process and they say to you, well, how much is your commission? That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. I prepared something for you, especially for you. Check it out. And then you show them and they're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. And now you're explaining to them why you charge what you charge. Because telling them is one thing, showing them is something totally different. Tom?
What you just said, showing them. If I were doing this, I would have a sheet of paper that says commissions or something on it and have that, right, just what you got right there.
Yeah.
Bullet point those 3 things and say, here, you choose.
Absolutely. I agree. Does anyone?
Rather than just talk about it.
No, absolutely. All these techniques, guys, work. I'm just giving you some. I'm just giving you one that I went into a little bit deeper just to give you guys an example of what you can do if you just take a little bit of time to prepare. It's all really down, it comes down to you. It comes down to how bad you want it, how bad you want to succeed. And keep in mind, guys, people that are in a competitive market, people that are in a market that there's a lot of interest in, there's going to be other agents who are trying to get those listings as well. And what you need to do is separate yourselves from your competition. You need to spend a little bit more time. A little bit more time, guys, just a little bit more preparation will ensure that you have a much better result. Okay, so that's what you need to do. It's not what you should do. It's what you need to do if you're serious about your business. Tom?
Can you print this out?
Yeah, of course.
Just
Yeah.
that page.
Yeah.
And, brighten it up some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll make it pink. All right, good. Any questions on this, guys? Anything you guys want to add to this before we move on to our next section? You guys enjoyed that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good stuff? All right.
Good stuff.
Our quote of the week. I want to get into the quote of the week right now. All right, this comes straight out the Bible. It says, he who tills his land will have plenty of bread. What does this look like, guys? What is this? What is this? You guys shout it out. Where is this? It's a farm, right? What do, in the real estate industry, what is your area that you cover? What do people call that?
Farming.
You call it your farm, and you call it farming. There is no difference between what it says in the Bible, he who tills his land will have plenty of bread, than what you guys do. What you guys do is you go out there and you try to work your leads, you try to work your area. And it says right there, he who tills his land will have plenty, and that's exactly what we need to do. So there is no secret to real estate. There is no mystery in how to get from here to there and be profitable, what you need to do is have a system and work your system. Have a sphere, have a plot of area that you cover, have land that you are wanting to be popular in, or have a demographic in which you're going to farm, but have something and then work it. So, and then I thought that this one was really appropriate because if you look at the farmer, he's wearing a suit. I like the fact that, or it's a guy, it could be a girl too. But think about this. It's a person who is a business person, and they're out there farming the land, which is exactly what we do. We come into work every day and we try to farm our land, we try to farm our sphere. So it was like an eye-opening thing to me for us to know that all along what farmers do is they go out there every morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're working their field, and they put in half the effort. Why do I say half the effort? Because the farmer can't make the sun come up. The farmer can't make it rain. The farmer can only do his part. He can only put the seed in the ground. He can only put the seed in the ground, and the farmer can only keep his crops cleaned and remove weeds and just nurture it. But the other part is done by faith, because you have to have faith that the sun will come up. You have to have faith that there will be weather that's going to be favorable. So the same thing is with our careers is that we can't make things happen, but we can start the process. We can start the process by being more productive, having a calendar that we follow, having certain things we do every day consistently. And why do we do that? Because we know that things happen when we work. So this was a good quote that I thought would be good for today. So he who tills his land will have plenty of bread. So think about it. You guys like bread, right? What's another bread is money, what people call it. So if you want to be more profitable, you just got to work your sphere, work your land, work your territory, work your demographic, whatever it is that you guys want to work. This is a great quote for real estate. Okay, what I want to talk to you guys about today is pocket listings. Have you guys heard about this? Have you guys been hearing about it? You guys know what a pocket listing is, right? Okay, let me explain to you first what a pocket listing is in the event that you guys never heard of the term before. So a pocket listing, also known as an exclusive listing, is a listing that I will go out and I'll take from a client and I'll have them sign a listing agreement, but it's a limited listing agreement, which means that it's not going to go on the MLS. It's just going to be an in-house listing. So that in-house listing can only be sold by myself and my office crew, my agents from my office. And if I have a friend who works somewhere else, maybe I'll let him try to sell it. This is how real estate is done in New York City. For those of you who don't know, in New York City, everything is a pocket listing, everything is an exclusive, everything is just in-house, that's it. Now, if you don't know someone in that market, and the reason they do that is to keep competitors out. So if you're a brand new agent and you're like, okay, I want to get into real estate in New York, the only way you're going to survive is if you go to a firm who has a lot of listings so you can market their listings, because you can't jump on the MLS and find this Chinese couple that just came in the country looking for a condo. You can't jump on the MLS and find them the condo of their dreams. You're going to have to be with a firm that has inventory. Now, funny enough, in Hudson Market, in the Hudson County market, it's not too different. A lot of Hoboken, Weehawken, all those nicer end Jersey City sections, like by the Newport area, a lot of those real estate agents there practice the same thing. They keep their best listings in-house, their best rentals in-house. They do not share them on the MLS. So when it takes you 1 year to establish yourself in a market like Union County, I've heard from agents in that area, it takes you 3 years to establish yourself in a market there. And that's full time. I'm not talking about being a part-timer. I'm talking about day in and day out. The reason why is because you don't have access to inventory the way that those people do who have been doing it for a long time. So it's been done and it's been accepted for a long time, but now National Association of Realtors has come up with a new policy that's being voted on November 6th through 11th. We'll see what happens. That pocket listings are now going to be considered to be against policy, which means that there's fines involved with them. And there's some big real estate companies that are for it, and there's a lot of big real estate companies that are against it. And there's real estate companies that are against it, are filing lawsuits already, preemptive to even the measures taking place. So it's going to be very interesting in what's going to happen. So I'm going to read you guys this article. I'm going to read the article to you guys so you guys can understand it a little bit better. And then I want to get your take on it. I want to see what you guys think about it. Let me see. Just click on this real quick. Okay. Okay, I'll read this here. Okay, welcome back to The Wrap, an email newsletter sent every Saturday morning to subscribers of Inman Select. We're glad you're spending your mornings with us. Okay. Okay, so here it goes. This is where it starts. So Redfin CEO Glenn Kelman supports the measure of allowing these pocket listings to be taken down. Compass CEO does not. eXp World Holdings does. Austin Board of Realtors, they do not. So let's read the article here. It's been a little bit over a month since the National Association of Realtors announced it had begun mulling a proposed clear cooperation policy requiring agents and brokers to share publicly marketed listings with members of their multiple listing service. The fate of those pocket listings to be determined November 6th through 11th at the 2019 Realtors Conference and Expo took a profound turn this week as executives, multiple listing services, and retirees alike thrusted and paired. Indeed, the knives came out. Within the Austin Board of Realtors, which boasts 13,000 members in Central Texas, officials slammed the proposal in an open letter that said, a policy that hinders a seller's marketing choices is not pro-consumer. On Monday, Inman's Jim Darpal, whatever his name is, the second, reported that ABOR, that's the Austin Board of Realtors, argues the current iteration of the proposal is unlimited, ultimately inconsistent with the NAR Code of Ethics. Facing off against ABOR and lining up behind NAR, however, Bright MLS earlier this month rolled out its own pocket listing policy that would require agents to add properties they publicly advertise to the system or face steep fines. The policy, which has already gone into effect but would delay fines until December 1st, could potentially impact 95,000 members in the Mid-Atlantic. Among them, Compass, which on Wednesday sent a pre-litigation letter to Bright that threatened legal action over the policy as concerned members of the multiple listing service. No word if such a letter will mature into a suit, but as Inman's Darpal reports, the brokerage, which recently went all in on off-market listings, is prepared to take direct legal action to challenge this policy and recuperate any and all damages associated with the implementation. Not to be outdone, Bright MLS CEO Brian Donnellan responded with his own missive the next day and argued that the pocket listings are antithetical to the core of Bright's mission, and that they foment exclusion and discrimination. Speaking directly to Compass, Donnellan concluded with a note of camaraderie. We believe that the requests in your letter are worthy of further discussion. Perhaps once the chips have fallen and the clear cooperation policy has finally been settled, the fine folks at Sotheby's, which on Monday rolled out their first ever collection of branded wines, will kindly pour a glass to the victors and vanquished of the great pocket listing war of 2019. God knows we'll all need a drink. Okay, so now question is, what kind of an impact will this have to us?
So does that mean for Bright, if you belong to Bright, even if you take a picture of the house when you're like showing it or something to put on Instagram, you can get fined because it's not in the Bright?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. We'll explain all this.
That would be unfortunate.
Okay, so what they're saying is that they're coming out with a clear cooperation policy, which means that NAR is the one that's proposing this. Well, we don't know all the specifics of it yet, but what Bright is saying, like your question goes, is what Bright is saying is that even if you take an exclusive listing, you have to put it on the MLS. You have to. And if you don't, you could get fined. So there's companies that are suing Bright over this because they make a lot of money on marketing their own listings within their ecosystem, within their own sphere of agents. Which, in my opinion, I feel that this is a great policy. I feel like this is a good leveling of the playing field, because imagine, let's just say Patty wants to get into the Hudson County market, but she can't because there's no inventory that she could show her client. Only option she has, refer it to a local agent. But if she wants to work that area, now she can. She can go and work it. I feel it's a move in the right direction. Now, there are other real estate companies too who do take listings and without their client's full acknowledgement and consent, they do this 30-day exclusive period. I know Paul knows very, very well about this. What they do is they'll take the first 30 days and make it exclusive, and then after 30 days, if their agency can't sell it, then they make it whatever. But that's very unfair as well. I do think that that's a disservice to the client instead of a benefit. Tom?
Waker used to do that all the time. At this time of year,
We sure did.
we take them right now, and, well, we don't wanna do anything till the first of the year. Okay, we take an exclusive for
Just
the
to
first
get
of the
those.
year.
Yeah.
All the time, just to have you got them waiting there.
Yeah.
And, I don't understand how they can tell you, they're gonna have to make some kind of law about how they can tell you what to do with a listing.
I agree. What they're saying here as well is that the Austin Board of Realtors is saying that it's not right that you have to make a homeowner market their home against their wishes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So there's arguments for both sides, and this is why I'm using this today as our conversation piece and our round table. So I want you guys to tell me, is this a good move or is this a bad move? Do you think it's a bad move, Tom?
Yes.
You think it's bad because in the winter it creates too much days on market when maybe you should just be trying to sell
I
it?
think it's a bad move because they're telling the homeowner, you know, I like you and I'm gonna list with you, but I don't wanna do anything till later on. But they're telling you that, hey, if you list with me, it's gotta go on the market now.
Mm-hmm.
That's not right. It's my house. I'll sell it when the hell I want to.
Okay. Now, do you think a lot of homeowners get kind of doped into thinking that way, or do you think that a lot of homeowners know enough to make that decision?
I think they get doped into thinking that way.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that happens. Paul, what do you think about it?
I mean, it really depends on where you sit on that. You know, if you're in that realm, then it's going to affect you and you're going to lose business. But then it opens it up for newer people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really just depending on where you look. I mean,
Yeah,
for me, like I'd
where
like
you
to
are,
get
yeah.
into some of
Yeah.
those areas. So, you know,
But think about it. If you're in that realm, right? Let's just say you're above average real estate agent in that realm. You've got listings of your own. You're selling them to a lot of your clients. But now that you're able to sell other people's listings, maybe that opens up even more business for you now. Instead of it being counterproductive, or some people will sell your listings, then maybe you'll have an opportunity to sell others as well. So there's good and bad to it. Wherever the chips may fall, like they say in this article, you guys just have to be able to find a way to figure it out. Figure it out. You cannot stop change and innovation, or you cannot stop bad policy making. All you can do is figure a way around it. Become resourceful, become creative. That's really all you can do. But like Paul has a good perspective on it. What if I'm an agent who's in that area and I don't want these newbies coming in and like selling my properties, and I got a headache teaching the newbie how to transact a deal on $1 million home. Meanwhile, they don't even know how to do a home inspection right. So yeah,
I just feel it's flooded with realtors. I mean, there's so many new realtors that it takes a while to wean them out.
Yeah.
Like the ones that don't. But once you open it up, then it's like, now you have 30 people calling. That's the hardest thing I have is every time I call somebody, it's like they're just so frustrated because I'm like the 30th person that's called them. So you got to figure out a way to get to them first. But
wouldn't it make it easier for an agent in those markets? Let's just say you took a listing in Hoboken on right by the water, and now that it's on the MLS, maybe it'll sell faster for your client, making you look better.
It should.
And for more money.
But
Yeah.
Based on the price.
I don't think they're having a hard time selling the properties.
I don't-
That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So
I think
it's
there's
not like it's
probably
going to really help anybody. It's just going to make it more
more
even.
Yeah.
That's
Could
up to
be.
me. I mean, it's just, they're
I
still
guess.
selling them.
They are. They still. It's not like they don't, right? But it's not a free market, though, right? If you think about it, it's a limited market. What do you think about it, Bridget?
I think that pocket listings may work well for higher end homes
Mm-hmm.
for the first, like Tom had mentioned, because they did that a lot at Whitecourt, and they did it a lot at Coldwell Banker as well.
Sure they did.
But then they put it right on the MLS, because I have never seen one sold off the MLS for my 3 years working with them. So I don't know. It worked. They agreed to it. I don't know if it's beneficial to anyone other than the agent.
Yeah, it's a way to get listings is what it is. I'm not gonna do anything until after the first of the year. Well, hey, I'm gonna sell them on an exclusive now until the
Right.
first of the year.
Yeah.
All I care about is getting a listing.
That's familiar. They did that, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a lot of work for the agent too, because you got to kind of like put on this dog and pony show for 3 months before the market comes.
Yeah, they don't.
And meanwhile, they're gonna get tired of you not having any results. So I think it's kind of it's gonna hurt, in my opinion. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, you have to kind of, I guess, be creative enough to have a plan during those exclusive periods where you're not having as many people through the door as you'd like.
Well, you have to sell them on that to start with. Hey, it's not gonna get shown a lot.
Yeah.
We're only gonna show it to our people.
Set
If any of our
expectations.
people have, you're not gonna set any expectations to get it sold.
Mm-hmm.
Only people, it just, the way Weichert used to do it was this way. Well, if we just happen to find a buyer in that price range, we got a buyer for you. If we wait till the first of the year, well, maybe this buyer will be gone, but if we just happen to have somebody, that's the way they used to sell it.
Yeah. It's an idea. How about you, Patty? You think it's good?
No, I mean, I didn't know New York was like that, and me currently going through the process of trying to get my New York license. It kind of makes you a little fearful.
They don't want it.
Well, we're talking about Manhattan. When I say New York, I mean Manhattan,
Okay.
the Big Apple, Long Island, and those Staten Island. They have their MLSs, and it's more like New Jersey-like.
Yeah.
But Manhattan itself, nah, you're not selling
So
anything
you
there.
can't break into it, just who's there is there.
Exactly. So I can see the board, in that area, or if they have a board, I don't even know what they have over there, but I can see them not liking this policy at all.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and they have a lot of money to fight this too. So, there's companies in there who do well there. City Habitats, and God knows what other companies that they kind of do a lot. Douglas Elliman, they do. They might pair up and file lawsuits against this too, because that's their way of life over there, and it's jeopardizing the way they do business. So, who knows? It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. But it's getting a lot of attention. What about you, Alejandro? What do you think?
Well, monopoly always been around in every business, so this is just another
Yeah.
way to. We just gotta find a way, whatever turn to,
Mhm.
just find a way to break into or be part of it or
Yeah.
have a little piece.
There he
But
is.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's normal in every business.
Of course. I'm not a big fan of too much oversight. Like, I'm not a big fan of the government telling you what you have to do, or anyone dictating what you have to do, or kind of that. So that's what scares me. The part of it that the National Association of Realtors has the power to govern what everyone does now, and they have no, like you said, Tom, they have no jurisdiction over homeowners. They only have jurisdiction over real estate agents, or realtors, I should call it, not even real estate agents.
Just like I said, I look at that.
Exactly.
I'm a homeowner, and somebody's gonna tell me when I can sell my house?
Yeah, exactly. So if that's what they wanted to do, so if a homeowner said to me, Louis, you can sell my home, but I don't want it on the MLS. And the reason why is because I don't want it to be exposed to X amount of people. I just want you to sell it to your personal people who you may have through the office, and that's all I want. And if I can't get that, then why should I work with you? I could just sell it myself.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of it that you guys have to look at. Yeah, exactly. It's encouraging more FSBOs. It could encourage more FSBOs. So there's so many sides to this coin that we don't know what kind of a lasting impact they may have. There may be something, there's always a reason for something. There may be something on the back end the National Association of Realtors sees advantageous for their organization, because a lot of these organizations they create policies to benefit themselves. So there may be something that is inherently going to benefit the National Association of Realtors by doing this. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating. I know that a lot of times they do try to pass good laws and good measures to help us, but I'm confused on this one, because it is good in one way, but it's also a slippery slope where they're kind of dictating a policy.
It sounds like a control thing to me.
It does. It sounds very much like a control thing. So we don't know. We'll see what happens. What do you think, Joelle? Exclusive listings are good? Bad?
I'm okay with whatever. I mean, there was a time when we didn't have cell phones and we adjusted to that. So
Yeah.
if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then okay.
Yeah, Joelle, that's a good point. There was a time when the MLS was in a book, right?
Oh, hey.
And you had to visit the book.
Two times a week, the listing sheet came out.
Yeah.
All of the new listings on it.
Yeah.
Everybody would run around and look at the new listings, because there wasn't any pictures
Mm-hmm.
or any of that kind of
Oh,
thing.
wow.
Yeah.
Lou, do you think that removing pocket listings will open up more business for companies like Culture Estate, like
Yeah.
newer companies? So
I do.
wouldn't that in turn then leave more opportunity for new real estate companies
Mm-hmm.
to pop up, and then
Yeah.
there'd be more realtors, so then they would benefit from having more members? I mean, it
Mhm.
just kind of seems like they're going to help
Yeah.
build take it from the people that are kind of monopolizing it and open it up, so they'll have more realtors. So obviously right there, there'd be a benefit, they'd make more
Yeah.
money.
Let me answer Paul's question real quick. So I do think that for smaller companies such as ours, going into a market that is right now, like Alejandro said, almost like a monopoly, is a really good thing for small companies. Just like the internet was something that leveled the playing field for everyone, just like social media leveled the playing field for small businesses to break into circles and arenas and industries that they weren't able to before. So I do think that it's a step in the right direction to kind of give the ones who have the talent, have the value to show it and showcase it to everyone. But I also think that it's a lot of governing over what gets done on the intricate level. So I'm a fan, yes. I'm more of a fan of it than I am not a fan of it. But we don't know what the lasting effects may be, because this may just be the first of many oversight. Yes, Tom?
How about going back to that commission question a while ago? We can throw this into that commission question thing. Hey, we'll take it as an exclusive, we'll do it for 4%
Yeah.
for the next 30 days. All right?
Yeah.
You can throw that in as one of your negotiating things in that commission question. too.
Yeah. There's a lot of luxury, and Bridget knows about this. There's a lot of luxury agencies that do just that. They're like, oh, you only want to pay 4% for your home? Okay, well, in that case, we need to list it as an exclusive first. And that whole way of getting business now is not probably going to be available to them anymore. Paul has seen it. Paul, you've seen it a lot of times with these luxury agencies.
I mean, I've lost listings because of that.
Yeah.
Like literally, you know, it was between my group and another agent that worked for, you know, more established companies, been there for, you know, 7,500 years, and they just for some reason just were like they think that matters, you know, like, and then the agent got the listings. There was 3 houses, new constructions, and they're still in the market. And now they're on, you know, I mean, now they're on the market with, you know, non-exclusive. So it's just a way to get listings. I mean, I would like to see the stats of how many of those houses
actually
sell during that time frame before it actually then has to go to public.
If you don't have the listing, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
So.
Very true, very true. John, we were talking about this new pocket listing saga that's going on. National Association of Realtors wants to have a policy in place where there are no more pocket listings. Everything has to go on the MLS. Some companies are for it, some are against it, some boards are for it, some boards are against it. What is your take on pocket listings?
I mean, looking from my experience, mostly commercial properties are mostly exclusives anyway.
They are. I didn't even think about
they
that.
operate mostly of exclusives.
Yeah.
They don't share a lot except the stuff that they know it would be hard to sell.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing that shows up on the MLS or on the that goes to CoStar. So I think it's going to disrupt the commercial market.
Well, NER has no command over commercial
okay.
industry.
Then I.
So they still live on the way they were doing
There's-
business.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're thinking more about like the Manhattan market, Hoboken market.
I was gonna say, so as far as I know, residential wise, most exclusive listings are like luxury listings. They're not really, you don't really get the 200, the less than 500,000 is not a lot of exclusive listings because it's just not, it's, I can't think of the right word, but it's not worth the time and energy of keeping it to yourself and not sharing it.
Sure.
So in my opinion, is it good or bad? I think it's going to shake up the luxury market, but that's already been shaken up because of the SALT
The
tax.
luxury market needs it.
Yeah. So I think I think it's going to affect it, but I think there's outside of variables is going to have a bigger effect on it. As far because I mean, a exclusive listing just means that you basically don't have to share it with the rest of the agents. But if you have a house right here and then 3 doors down is the same house that's on the market, that's on open market, you're hurting yourself. With the luxury market, those homes are further apart, most of them. Some of them are more custom. There's a lot more features that another house won't have. So it'll change. I think it'll affect the luxury market definitely.
Yeah.
Where the rest of us, you won't know the difference.
Yeah. I think what real estate brokerages, and I think we forgot to mention this, I feel that real estate brokerages, especially on the higher end, like you said, the reason why they do that is because they want to incentivize buyers to work with them too. Because if you tell a buyer, well, listen, we have exclusive listings in our office, work with us, they're probably more inclined to want to work with you, right? Because they may ask you, well, I can look at all those properties on Zillow, but you telling me you have properties that are exclusive, that makes it more enticing for them to be able to get their agents to work with buyers that normally wouldn't want to dedicate themselves to one agency or one agent. Tom?
Yeah, it's like doing an open house and you run into people once in a while that we're not working with anybody, we're just out looking on our own. And well, we've got listings that other people never see.
Yeah. So that won't be able to be a thing anymore.
Yeah, you might miss a house you really wanna buy just because you're out there shopping on your own.
I get it.
You wouldn't wanna miss a house you really wanna buy, would you?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Good.
Come on, work for me.
And to more to your point, buyers in the luxury market are a lot more scarce.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Absolutely.
would have to incentivize them to come work with you because they don't come along that often.
Yeah.
You know, you really have to hold these deals together because
Mm-hmm.
you know the difference between a 30-day sale and a 6-month sale is just who walked through the door.
Of course.
So you sort of have to incentivize to keep that pool of buyers. Otherwise, with us, you can do an open house and get 10 new buyers every week.
Of course. Yes, Tom?
I used to work with some transferees, people that got shipped in here from Chicago or somewhere and had to buy a house. And one of the ways to really try to get them to work with you is, hey, we got listings that other people aren't gonna see. You're not gonna be able to see these other houses. You're only gonna be here for a week and you gotta buy a house. Well, we've got things that other people can't show you.
Exactly. Good point. Anyone want to say anything else before we close out about this topic?
I'm just curious if it has to also do with commercial as well.
It doesn't, because commercial agents are not members of the National Association of Realtors.
Gotcha.
But if, for instance, one of us wanted to take a listing that's commercial, it'd have to go on the MLS. But agencies like Marcus and Millichap, or agencies that are just commercial based, they're not realtors anyway. They don't pay their board fees.
Right.
They just operate on their own area. Okay. Good or bad? Mostly neutral. I think mostly good, right? You guys are saying? Okay, Tom. Training Wednesday.
We're gonna try it again.
He's gonna give you guys by Tuesday. If he doesn't have at least a few people that are coming in.
Come,
Yeah.
we'll cut those out until maybe we'll try again after the first of the year.
Yeah, that's when everybody gets all riled up.
This is
January.
my year.
Yeah, this is what I'm gonna do it this year. You know what's funny? I know the gyms get like that, but
The
it's so
gyms, oh.
funny
I'm
that
like February.
it's so
Not
funny.
even 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
You're kidding me? I used to work at a gym.
It's crazy. Gyms go nuts, and that's funny is that I noticed it here this year in January. The office was packed. Every agent was like, "Yes, this year I'm gonna do this. This year I'm gonna do that."
Yeah.
And by
For a couple weeks.
by February, you don't see anyone. I'm like, it's so funny. It's just human nature. Alejandro, are you good for role play this Friday? Okay, 8 a.m. Friday. Alejandro's got his role play. If anyone's interested, coming in, you guys will benefit a lot from it. Just like we spoke about this morning, practicing these things are amazing. Yes.
Maybe we should make a mid-year resolution.
Mid-year resolution, right?
So like somewhere in the middle, like everyone sits and has to like reevaluate, and I could actually bring it up because everyone forgets.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you said, everyone's gone ho.
Mm-hmm.
January, February.
Yeah.
So maybe in May, June, it's like, what's your
Start over.
let's start over and let's make a new resolution.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
get more done. Right?
Yeah, of course.
Well, next month.
We'll have our like a little New Year's
Yeah,
party,
right.
a mid-year party.
Like a month
I think the problem with that, I think the biggest flaw with those New Year's resolutions is that people on January 1st, they want their ultimate goal to show up. So
Next week.
yeah, okay, this year I'm going to lose 100 pounds. Why don't you start with this week I'm going to lose 3 pounds? Because that's where people fall off, is they want that instant result. Or do you want, I'm going to make $1 million this year, guys, but you still haven't even taken your first listing of the year. So how is it that people are thinking so long term without planning short term goals? I think that's where most people fail. Is, instead of, like, I'm not going to curse today. That's my goal. I'm just going to change my vocabulary. And before you know it, you're a totally different person. Operation Toy Box. Who remembers Operation Toy Box? We do it every year. Okay, so yeah, this is a lot of fun. I have boxes for everyone. Anyone who's interested in it. What it is between Thanksgiving to Christmas, there is an organization that sends out these boxes to all different impoverished nations around the world, where kids don't usually get any toys or kids don't have anything to play with day to day. So what we do is we fill it up with toys, with coloring books, with school supplies, and then we ship it out to different parts. We've done this for the last 2 years. It's a really good event. Anyone who has any old shoe boxes that they want to fill up with stuff, they can go right ahead and do it. If not, I'm going to bring a slew of shoe boxes that are from the organization and leave them out in the front. So if you guys need one, if you guys have a friend who wants to participate in it as well, or if you guys have a family member who would like to do it as well, take as many as you need. If we run out, great. We can just get more, or we can just use shoe boxes at home. So
Make a little printout about it and
Yes, I have them. I'm gonna lay them out. I'll put them up there tomorrow. I left them at home today, so I'll have it all ready for you guys. You just need to drop them off by the cutoff date, which I think is towards the middle of November or the third week of November. I'll have the exact date for you for that. And lastly, the Lions Club. That is, I'm putting that. She's giving me the information this week, so I'm posting that in the front. I'm also gonna email everyone. So keep in mind that's when we go out and we donate food, and not donate food, but we donate our time to supply food for those families around the area of Elizabeth who don't have enough for the holidays. So we go out and we sometimes it's fast, sometimes it might take a little more. I think we're usually done by like noon. So it'd be a good thing to do. I believe it's the day before Thanksgiving if anyone's interested. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to add anything to our Tom?
One of the things that I've been sort of fascinated with the last couple of years is Nicole Newton's.
Yes, Nicola.
Nicola's thing that get coats for the homeless.
Yeah.
And if you got coats that you don't wear, don't need, and so forth, find them. and
Or
get them
clothes
in there.
too.
Yeah, clothes too, but she's big on the coats.
Yeah, Nicola does this event every year. She does an event, and she also has an organization that she runs herself. So she collects clothes and coats for the homeless and needy, and she holds this event I think it's Thanksgiving, right at the train station, Penn Station in Newark. And I went there last year to try to help and volunteer. And I would see there was a line of people waiting for them to set up. They get soup. They get to go through the racks and get clothes and shoes. And there's people who like wait all year to get this stuff. And it's a really good mission that she's on.
Up till the middle of December, she's throwing coats in her car and going into the city and handing out
Exactly.
to the homeless people.
So if you guys at home, if you guys have clothes that you have not worn in the last year, I would really think strongly about donating it, not only because it's going to a good cause, but also there's a feeling of kind of like a burden taken off.
Good.
Yeah, there's also a burden taken off your back when you kind of like get rid of the old. That way you can make room for the new. That happens in our lives a lot of times, is that we want new stuff in our life, but we're scared to let go of the old and the past.
Yeah, we can't get it
Exactly. So it's a good metaphor, especially at this time of year, to kind of like get rid of all the things that are not serving us in life, and get rid of those things, and then start picking up new habits and new daily objectives and habits that are going to be productive, and not things that are not serving us at all. So start with the clothes. Maybe you'll end up doing that with the habits, and maybe you'll end up doing it with your whole calendar and getting rid of anything that you shouldn't be doing. So
And she'll come in. She was in here a few times. Said, "I need to finish my project. I need 20 more coats."
Yeah.
Or whatever. She comes in here and really pushes that. Sort
Yeah, so if anyone is interested, or if anyone watching is interested, please come by the office, drop off any clothes. You can bring it in garbage bags. You can also bring in children's books or just regular books, because she does do, she did create a library in her country, in Guyana, I think it is, right? She has this whole organization that they give, they provided literally like a library.
She does.
Yeah, so at times when I go to these homes that are abandoned and I find like all these books that were left behind, I call her up, she comes and she grabs them. So if you guys ever go into a home that your client may buy, they may have leftover books or anything like that, she's the girl to call. All right, good. Anyone else?
Every Thanksgiving, my church partners with the Overcomers Ministry. We feed, basically the holidays, for those who don't know, are the biggest time of relapse, because people who are in recovery, they don't have family, so they go back to their substance to sort of, not feel depressed.
Numb the pain.
So it's in Elizabeth, my church in Elizabeth. We partner with the Overcomers Ministry to basically feed them. But most of the people just hang out, and usually it's open all day, but after 3 o'clock, most of the volunteers leave, and there's like a need for more volunteers after 3. Every year I go, I'll be there, usually there at like from 3 to 6. I think this year they shut it down early, like 5:30. But it's a good opportunity to go get to feed people. You'll be surprised some of the people that are actually struggling with recovery. Some of the politicians come in sometimes.
Oh wow!
Because some of the politicians are not from the area, which they should be, but they're not from the area, and they don't want to sit down and drink all day, so they come by. But it's a good cause.
Yeah, a lot of great stuff. Good. Anyone else? All right, guys, we're gonna close out. Okay. All right, so close out with our prayer. So, guys, give us a second to just put our heads down and just think about and meditate over everything that we are grateful for in our lives. Let's thank God today for having us here present and not in a hospital somewhere or not in physical pain or at a funeral or at a loss of a family member. Let's be grateful for all the blessings that we have in our life. Let's ask for forgiveness and also wisdom in order to be able to live our days in a better manner. We sometimes take for granted, all the things that we have accomplished in our lives, and we get blinded by the things we want for our lives, and those things will all come, but we have to prove that we're good stewards with what we already have and what we've been given. So we thank God today for all the things we have in our life, and especially, most importantly, all the mistakes that we've gone through and all the hardships we've been through, because those are the events that have shaped us, molded us, and made us better people. We need to use those instances to help other people who might be going through that, to show them that there is hope if they hang on, and there is a better day after a tragic day. So we just want to meditate on that. And we also want to pray for anyone who can't be here or anyone who is here who needs a prayer. We want to always keep them in our hearts and just ask God to never leave our side. So let's just be thankful in that, and let's have a blessed week. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Are you guys going to use